Allen Robinson, he is prepared, quote unquote, to handle the franchise tag situation. And actually, in an interview tonight, talked a little bit about potentially pulling a Stephon Diggs. And he said he's willing to play for the Bears as long as it's under a fair price contract. But, they're prepared to handle the franchise tag situation. At this point, I think he is going to get tagged, and I think he is going to get traded if he really won't play on that tag because,
It seems unlikely that they're going to sign him to that contract at this point.
He's not.
If he was going to get signed to that $22 million, $20+ million contract, it would have happened
already.
Damn, in August. I mean, this has been something that has been long in the making. We've been talking about this basically since mid-off season, since training camp at least, maybe even before that. This has been a situation that's been brewing for a long time. If the Bears had initiative to make this happen, they wouldn't make it happen. There's been a lot of cap complexities. The NFL just recently released the cap's a little bit higher than expected, but the Bears are still working in a very tight situation. I mean, they can make moves that can either, you'd say, can give them about from $45 million of space to basically right up against the cap. They could restructure some things, but, realistically, they still have to be pretty conservative about what they do here. And, we don't know how much they're going to have to pay to bring in a quarterback. There's still other holes to fill. So it just seems unlikely that it's going to happen at this point. I feel like it's carried on too long. I think ultimately at this point, the Bears are going to put that tag on him. And, if it comes down to a situation, the Bears don't really seem like a team that wanted to deal with a player that's going to be holding out for too long. If you don't want to be part of it, then they'll just send him off. I think I could see a tag, and if he's going to say that he's going to hold out, I think it's likely that he would be moved.
All right, guys, really quickly before we continue with the show, we have to let you know that this podcast is supported by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels, and they obsess over their technology developments. They're trusted by over 2 million men worldwide, and we have an exclusive offer code for our listeners, 20% off plus free shipping using code BEARNECESSITIES, no space, at manscaped.com. Manscaped sent both Reese and I over a bunch of their tools and formulations from their Perfect Package 3.0. And guys, Manscaped is a great company. They wanted us to wait until we try the products to give you guys our honest opinion. And it is a very good product. They have no-nick technology and a little LED light, which helps you get the job done a little bit easier. Both Reese and I have really enjoyed the Lawnmower 3.0 so far, and we're looking forward to trying a lot of their other products. The underwear that they sent us in the box too has been spectacular, and if you guys are into athletics or go to the gym frequently, highly recommend those as well. And guys, really quickly, if you use the same razor on your face as below the waist, guys, that's a little bit nasty. Try to pick up something specifically engineered for that below the waist region with the Lawnmower 3.0. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BEARNECESSITIES at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping using code BEARNECESSITIES at manscaped.com. Make sure you check how to spell that in the description. That's going to support the podcast tremendously. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. I think he's getting traded because I don't foresee the Bears letting a player walk like Robinson straight out. Here's the question, though, is where really is his value? Because you have to think the Vikings got a first for Diggs. I feel like they're similar level of receiver. I feel like but what's also confusing is the Texans got a second for Hopkins. Is that just because
that's the outlier?
Is that just because the Texans suck?
I think a little bit. I think that realistically, the Bears to the right team, depending on how hot, kind of when they get into the market. So I think if the Bears play it completely right, they have enough suitors, a team that's really driven to get Robinson, they could get a first. I think it's more likely, though, that they end up getting a second and a complimentary fourth and a fifth, or maybe a second and a third, something like that.
Here's what I would try to do if I was Ryan Pace. I would try to package him with our current first round pick to move up in the draft. I think that's the best way to get the most optimal value because, hey, if you tell obviously we don't know the situation with the Jets. They're a wide receiver needy team. Or look at the Dolphins even, number 3 pick. You say, hey, listen, we'll give you Allen Robinson. We'll give you our first round pick. And, we'll give you like a future second or current third or something like that. You say, hey, here's this package. It's going to solve your need for wide receiver. You'll have a guy for Tua. You'll still have a first round pick, so you'll have that. And we're going to give you another pick in return. Does a team like the Dolphins bite on that?
I think they'd at least listen to it.
They would. The difficult situation is, how do teams feel? Do other teams feel Allen Robinson is worth the contract he is looking for in the same way that, fans do? Because the Bears clearly don't think that he's worth that 22 mark. And I don't think they're necessarily wrong with that, because that's a very high cap number. We need to remember that's right up there with Khalil Mack's average. And, I don't think it's far off to say that Khalil Mack is a much better edge rusher than Allen Robinson is a receiver. But it's one of those tricky situations where it's kind of really hard to say his value. I could see him getting traded for as little as a third or as high as a 1.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he could pull a range of value. Since it's a tag and trade, it makes it a little tricky too, because then the team that trades for him is likely going to need to extend him in order to really make him happy. So it kind of carries a little bit of a brunt there. But at the same time, who knows? Maybe the Bears could get lucky and get a decent yield from him. And I think if you can get a 1 for him, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't move him. Absolutely not.
Especially like a decent one with some of the receivers in this class, man. This is another really good receiving class. I think the Bears are eyeing what the Vikings did last year, which is they got rid of Diggs, got Justin Jefferson. Now they have a steal of a contract and a stud rookie receiver. They might be eyeing that situation. I know a lot of Bears fans are going to miss Allen Robinson, and I get it. He has been the one consistent thing on offense, and by no means are we Allen Robinson haters. We, I think, are just trying to look at it from a team value perspective and a team building perspective. It's not always great to be shelling out these big contracts on the side of the football that you're kind of struggling on. And also for specifically a receiver when you have such bigger needs at offensive line and quarterback. It's hard to justify giving out that contract when there's two to three other major key positions that are of much higher importance to an offensive scheme than receiver, especially if you can also get value for that receiver.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that, pretty much sums up what I would have to say.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on. Ultimately, do you think that what do you think is going to occur with Robinson before we let off, though?
I'm going to say he definitely gets tagged. And then if he really does live up to his word, then I'd say that he ends up getting traded if he holds out then. But I wouldn't be so sure that he would hold out. I think he's talking a little bit, but I could see him doing it also. It's kind of like 50-50 in my eyes.
I think that he'll hold out if he gets tagged. I'm almost certain that he will, and I think that the Bears are going to tag him. And I think the ultimate scenario is that it is going to be a package situation where maybe the Bears package their second to get another first rounder out of it, or maybe they package him to trade up to another team. Even if that spot isn't necessarily where they pick at draft night and they choose to trade up again, I just think that's the only way you can kind of get an accurate value.
Hey guys, like our video, subscribe, and check out our bi-weekly podcast on Apple Podcasts. Thanks.